Doctor, I really enjoy eating ham and sausages, but I've heard that they can affect diabetes. Is that true?
Yes, it is. In fact, many studies have shown that processed meats can increase the risk of developing diabetes. Let me explain the mechanism behind this in detail.
I eat them all the time and love them, so that's a bit shocking. Please tell me more.
Sure. First, processed meats like ham and sausages contain preservatives and additives. These substances can interfere with the way insulin works in your body, which can make it easier for your blood sugar levels to rise, thus increasing the risk of diabetes.
I see, but how much does the risk actually increase?
According to some studies, reducing processed meat consumption by 30% could potentially prevent over 350,000 cases of diabetes over 10 years. Additionally, higher consumption of processed meats is also linked to an increased risk of cardiovascular disease and colon cancer.
That's a pretty significant number.
It certainly is. This is why it's important to be mindful of what we eat regularly. For example, consuming just 50 grams of processed meat a day, which is about one slice of ham or one sausage, can increase your risk of diabetes by around 25%.
Even that small amount can increase the risk? Should I just stop eating them altogether?
It's not realistic to cut them out completely, and they can still be an enjoyable part of your diet. The key is to consume them in moderation.
What exactly does consuming in moderation mean?
For example, you might limit your intake to a few times a week and try to balance it with other healthy foods.
I see, so it's about watching the quantity and balance. Doctor, could you explain more about how processed meats increase the risk of diabetes?
Of course. As I mentioned, processed meats contain preservatives and additives, and among these, sodium nitrite, a common preservative, can interfere with insulin function.
Insulin is the hormone that helps regulate blood sugar, right?
Exactly. When insulin doesn't work properly, it's easier for your blood sugar to rise, which increases the risk of developing diabetes. Additionally, processed meats are high in saturated fats and salt, which also contribute to the risk of diabetes.
So the preservatives, saturated fats, and salt are the problems. But how do these affect insulin?
Specifically, preservatives and saturated fats can cause inflammation in the body, which in turn increases insulin resistance. This means your body becomes less responsive to insulin.
So, if there's inflammation in the body, insulin doesn't work as well. That's concerning.
It is, which is why it's important to limit your intake of processed meats.
Doctor, processed meats don't just raise the risk of diabetes, right? Can you tell me more about the other risks?
Certainly. Higher consumption of processed meats has also been linked to an increased risk of cardiovascular diseases and colon cancer.
Cardiovascular diseases like heart disease?
That's correct. Processed meats like ham and sausages are high in saturated fats and cholesterol, which can lead to plaque formation in the arteries, causing atherosclerosis. This, in turn, raises the risk of heart disease and stroke.
That's scary. What about colon cancer?
Some of the compounds in processed meats are carcinogenic, which means they can harm the cells in your colon and increase the risk of cancer.
So, eating processed meats also raises the risk of cancer. How can I reduce these risks?
The first step is to reduce your intake of processed meats. Instead, focus on eating fresh vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and other healthy foods. I'd also like to talk to you about the benefits of plant-based meat as an alternative.
I understand that I should reduce processed meat, but what should I eat instead?
One great alternative is plant-based meat. It's made from beans, grains, and other plant-based ingredients and often has many health benefits compared to animal-based meat.
What exactly is plant-based meat made from?
Plant-based meat is usually made from ingredients like soy, peas, and wheat. These plant ingredients are processed to mimic the texture and taste of meat.
That's interesting, but does it really taste like meat?
Yes, thanks to recent advancements in food technology, plant-based meat can taste and feel quite similar to real meat. There are vegan burgers and plant-based sausages, for example, that look and taste very close to the real thing.
That's intriguing. What health benefits can I expect from eating plant-based meat?
Plant-based meat is lower in saturated fats and contains no cholesterol, which helps reduce the risk of cardiovascular diseases. Additionally, the plant ingredients are high in dietary fiber, which aids digestion and improves gut health. It's also more environmentally friendly, contributing to the reduction of global warming.
It's healthy and good for the environment too. But is plant-based meat really tasty?
Yes, with the progress in food technology, the taste and texture have improved significantly, making it much closer to real meat. Plus, the health benefits of lower saturated fat and no cholesterol make it a good choice.
That's reassuring, but what other benefits are there?
Plant-based meat is also rich in vitamins and minerals, which helps with overall nutritional balance. It's also lower in calories compared to animal meat, making it suitable for weight management. Additionally, by choosing plant-based meat, you can reduce your environmental impact, like lowering greenhouse gas emissions and conserving water. So it's good for both your health and the planet.
Lower calories are definitely appealing. It seems like a safe choice. Since it's also good for the environment, I might try incorporating more plant-based meat into my diet.
That's an excellent decision.
But doctor, can you explain more about how plant-based meat is good for the environment?
Certainly. Producing plant-based meat requires significantly fewer resources than producing animal meat. For instance, it generates fewer greenhouse gas emissions and uses much less water, which helps combat global warming.
How significant is the difference?
Research shows that producing plant-based meat can drastically reduce greenhouse gas emissions and water usage, which supports a more sustainable food system.
That's impressive. It's not just good for our health but also for the planet.
Exactly. It's important to consider the environmental impact of our food choices.
Doctor, I understand now that I should cut back on processed meat. But how can I do that effectively?
Let's talk about some practical ways to reduce processed meat consumption. While it might be challenging to avoid it completely, you can take steps to reduce your intake. For instance, you could replace ham or sausages with fresh fish or chicken, or incorporate plant-based protein sources like tofu or nuts into your meals.
I see, but it might be difficult to change what I'm used to eating.
It's true that changing habits can be tough, but even small steps can lead to a healthier diet over time. You could start by trying plant-based meals once a week or adding beans to your salads or soups. These small changes can make a big difference.
Small steps might be doable. Do you have any other advice?
Pay attention to how you prepare your meals as well. For example, try using less oil and reducing your salt intake.
That sounds manageable. Is there anything else I should be aware of?
When dining out, try to choose healthier options like salads or grilled dishes, and consider adjusting the amount of sauces or dressings. At home, experiment with healthy recipes.
So, it's about making mindful choices at home and when eating out. I'll start implementing these changes.
That's a great mindset. By sticking to a healthy diet, you can lead a better life.
Doctor, can I ask you 3 questions?
Of course, feel free to ask.
First question. I know it's hard to avoid processed meat completely, but how often is it safe to eat it?
That's a good question. While it's challenging to avoid processed meat entirely, I recommend limiting your intake to just a few times a week. Remember, consuming processed meat does carry potential health risks.
Thank you. Second question. Where can I buy plant-based meat?
These days, you can easily find plant-based meat at supermarkets and online stores. It's also available at vegan and vegetarian specialty shops. Be sure to check it out.
And lastly, is it okay to give plant-based meat to children?
Absolutely. Plant-based meat is nutritious and a healthy option for children as well. Just make sure they're getting a balanced diet by combining it with other foods.
Thank you for answering all my questions.
You're very welcome. If you or our viewers have more questions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments section.
Doctor, thank you for sharing so much valuable information today. Do you have any final messages?
Thank you for listening. I'd like to emphasize that our diet has a significant impact on our health. Reducing processed meat intake can lower not only the risk of diabetes but also many other health risks.
I understand. I'll be more mindful moving forward.
Please do. Start implementing these tips little by little. And to our viewers, how often do you consume processed meat? Let us know in the comments. Let's work together towards healthier eating habits.
I'm curious to see everyone's thoughts. Doctor, thank you so much for today.
My pleasure. Feel free to reach out anytime.